my screen here as we talk. So thank you for registering and attending this. What I will ask you to do is, even though I can't see you, to put your devices away, to grab a cup of coffee or your smoothie, water. Just get relaxed, grab a notebook and somewhere where you can take some notes, and keep this sort of front in mind, be really present, and focusing your attention here without distractions. So I'm just going to start here. So I hope with this presentation, some of you I've met before. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And also I'd encourage you to share your feedback and any questions you may have via LinkedIn. So you can use the Q&A to chat, and we will kind of move through the Q&A at the end of the presentation, and I'll work through the presentation right now. Keisha is going to keep an eye on the Q&A in the chat, so if there's anything urgent, feel free to just kind of tag me, Keisha. So we are here today to talk about success journals for interviews. Some of you may be familiar with what a success journal may look like. Some of you may call this something else and already be incorporating this into your career plans. But this is something that I learned over my time as an operations leader, but also as someone who was applying for jobs, applying for promotions, and even starting my own business at the moment, which I've done. So this is my LinkedIn contact, and I'll just give you a bit of an idea of who I am if I haven't met you already. My background is operations management. I was a regional operations leader for Eastern Canada in the travel industry for over 6 years. Before pandemic, I did leave my job, not in any relation to the pandemic, just timing. Obviously, the hospitality and travel industry was hard hit. And I decided to open my own consultancy, so my own business. I focus on newcomers to Canada with all types of assistance for newcomers to Canada, leadership, management, operations, leadership development, and training. So again, you can check me out on LinkedIn and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I also am a dance fitness enthusiast, and I love anything to do with dance fitness. It was a way to keep myself healthy and just excited. It's a lot of fun. So I became a BaliX instructor, and BaliX is a Bollywood workout. So I do teach that online. I've been teaching that virtually over the pandemic, which has been really helpful. And again, that's my LinkedIn contact. So just to give you a bit of an idea of how this success journal came about for me was when I went into this leadership role, it was a very high pressured, intense, target-driven role. And in order to have gotten there, in order to have applied for different promotions, and I was also in charge of onboarding and promoting my staff from within and hiring new talent, I realized very quickly that we needed to mark somehow all of the great things that we were doing in our careers. And so this is just a little bit of a background of some of the responsibilities that I had. I was in charge of developing new markets. There were existing markets that I had to revamp and implement new systems. I had about 10 teams in 4 different cities with 60 different staff, all different departments reporting into me. And clients obviously were a big part of this equation. So I had to cultivate new relationships with clients and partners and travel industry partners, as well as maintaining and enhancing the existing relationships that we had as well. And then there's obviously the targets and the goals side of it and achieving. So behind that is strategy and planning and creating a vision, creating goals, but then obviously implementing and executing them. So it was really important for me to start logging everything that I was doing. I was in this role for 6 years, and 6 years is a long time to not pay attention to what it is that was being accomplished. So with that, I want to start you off on a bit of a procedure to starting your success journal. So I want to just preface by saying that this success journal is yours. It's personal, it's private, and I really encourage editing and rephrasing it when you're incorporating this information into your interviews. So this is basically like a book collection of events that you will then rewrite and rephrase, and that will help you when you're in an interview process. I recommend to bring a different professional summary to your interviews to help you with those answers, and don't actually bring this ongoing log of entries with you. And the intention behind this is that it's a tool to start building a foundation of all of the amazing things that you will do and are doing in your job in order to help you get a promotion or change jobs or even have a career change. Always remember to keep identities a minimum, avoid using names where possible, and focus on the lesson learned, focus on self-improvement, self-awareness, and really focusing on what you can't control. Remember that life is long and our career journeys are long, and not every job, every interaction will always be a positive one. But what we need to do is be really self-aware, be really reflective, make note, and then really find the lesson learned and realize what it is that you can control, and the things that you cannot control, then how do you navigate that? So I really want you to take note that this is private, this is personal. Don't bring this to an interview, but make a summary of certain points that answer questions that commonly come up on interviews, especially if it's industry specific. So one of the first things that you want to do is list the problem. So just the very basic facts. Who's involved? When did it happen? What happened? Why is this a problem? You know, what's missing in this equation? Remember, when I use the word problem, it doesn't always necessarily mean conflict or something negative. It could mean that in this particular scenario, there is a talent pool that is missing. There is a piece of knowledge or training that is missing. There is an actual person that's missing. So it's not necessarily that it's a negative thing. It is just something that is missing from this equation where something didn't go as planned. So why is it a problem? And that's something else to focus on as well. And then list the situation. So it's almost like listing what category this is. Is this part of skill development? Is it a part of people and relationships, maybe HR and conflict resolution, team cohesion, team building? Is it a part of task problem solving? So maybe you're in IT, and maybe this is a problem about the technology, or maybe it is actually hardware. Maybe it is actually talent pool for certain IT programs. So what is the situation? Is it about strategies, goal, marketing? You know, is every person who is involved in making the situation a success, are they doing what they need to be doing? So just list the situation and the category. Now, the category is going to help you when you're in an interview. So hopefully everyone here listening to this webinar has been through some sort of interview process. And generally in interviews, there are categorical questions that are very specific to your industry, to your task, to the job. But then there are also behavioral questions about team building, problem solving, etc. So we want to start putting these success journals either in categories, or when you're just listing it and building your success journal, you can just write at the top or on a page or wherever it is, what category does this fall into? So when you get a question in an interview about IT, about accounting, about software, about strategies and goals and incentives, about team cohesion, conflict resolution. You can immediately know what situations helped you become better and develop skills so that you can now answer this question in the interview. And then you want to list the steps that you've taken to resolve the situation or improve the situation. Who was involved to help resolve the situation? What step-by-step actions were taken to resolve the situation? Again, always think bigger than conflict resolution and people situations. Think about marketing not delivering a product on time. Think about the accounting team not entering data on time. Is it because the technology is not there? Is it because staffing is not where it needs to be? So what steps were taken to resolve the situation? And then also improve the situation. Think about things that you needed to source or find out. Did you need to do some research? Did you need to ask some questions? Was there tools and training that needed to be involved and incorporated? Did you need to include your HR or your learning and development team? Or did you actually go out and take a course or read a book or watch a video on how to resolve this perhaps technical situation and then incorporate that? So you want to list how resourceful you were, how proactive you were, how much you took initiative, and not focusing on the problem, but focusing on the solution. Then you want to list the result of the situation. Reflect on why it was a problem. So you kind of want to go backwards a little bit. Reflect on why this was a problem and what did that problem cause, or did it slow down a process? Did it prevent a client from receiving certain levels of service or product? And then once you implemented these steps, what improved and what changed? Was it a client benefit? Was it a systems and process benefit? Did it increase morale and fun and joy and purpose at work? Did it increase motivation? Did it increase and make your team cohesion stronger? And did it enhance communication and make things better? So really reflect back to why this was a problem, and then come back to the situation and really reflect on how things are better. Now, sometimes things are not just instantaneous, where you'll see an instantaneous reward or result. Maybe it means the steps are gradual and that they take time. So it could be a situation that takes 2 to 3, 4 months. Maybe it's a goal and a project for a year, perhaps, where you're taking steps incrementally throughout the year. So always think big picture. Don't isolate to just now and a conflict, perhaps, between you and a colleague, or a problem somewhere in the employment chain. Think that long-term also can fall into these situations as well. And then list the impact or the benefit to the company or the team. So what is the immediate and or long-term benefit of solving this problem? So it's fine, you've identified that there's a problem, and then you're working on solutions, or you have implemented solutions. But why did you do that? Why did you solve the problem? Why did we need to solve the problem as a group, as a team, as a department? So what was the benefit? And then how will the team and the client or the company see positive results? And really be descriptive here in terms of Again, whether it's client benefit, whether it's process driven, whether it's improving, even something as basic like your modem, your connection, your connectivity. You know, if that was a problem, but you figured out what technical components go into making and improving a situation, that may speed up the internet or the web connection in your particular department or area. And then how did that benefit the company? Obviously, that means people are going to be more motivated to work a bit faster or more efficiently. And that means that the data going in and out is just going to be more efficient. Now, these are just very small examples. But when you really sit down to reflect over time, over a long period of your career, this becomes easier to do, easier to see things in a different perspective. And really you get into a habit of going through this process quite quickly, and you start to see things differently. You start to see that there are problems and gaps, but then you don't focus on the gap as much. You don't become emotionally invested in the problem, and you really become proactive about the solution and problem solving. And then lastly, what is needed to maintain the outcome? So this is resolving something in a positive manner. It's got a positive solution and a positive outcome to it. It benefits the client, perhaps it benefits the company. Again, whether it's systems, process, morale, motivation, team cohesion, what is needed then to maintain this outcome? So then you want to build a little bit of a mini plan. How do we maintain this? Does this mean that we need to check in every week? Does this mean that we need to do a team social? Does this mean that we need to maintain technical support? What does this mean specific to your job, to your department, to the problem, and to really make sure that this doesn't really happen again? And if it does, then you're better equipped to know how to solve it. So I'll just leave this up here for 1 second, just so you can process it and you can mark it down and write it down, whichever way, or if you're taking electronic notes. And think of any questions that you may have, and you can put them in the Q&A or the chat. So identifying the process that you would go through, that you want to take your mind through, okay? We've gone through that now. What I want to recommend to you next is the actual tangible side of it. So what I always recommend is to write things down in a notebook. Now, not everybody is, you know, pen to paper type person, and that's totally fine. Maybe you want to keep an Excel or a Word document or any other preferred method. The reason why I recommend writing things down in a notebook is because the brain processes things differently when you actually take your thought and put it down on paper. And you can use pencil, you can use pen, but I really also encourage color to stimulate the brain. So one of the things I had mentioned earlier is that I'm a group fitness instructor, and I do teach Bollywood dance fitness. With that also, I study brain fitness, and sharpening the brain and giving the brain exercises and skill is really important over time as well. Color is one thing that stimulates the brain because it really enhances all different quadrants of the brain. And I'm not going to go into that at this point, but when I encourage writing, using color, whether it's highlight or whether it's colored pencil or colored markers, whatever that may mean to you, I encourage you to just try it a couple of times. If it's something that's new for you and something that you don't really do very often, maybe just incorporate it once a week, once a month, try it out a couple of times and see if it works for you. Generally, what will happen is your brain will gravitate to certain colors. Usually 3 colors will really speak to you. And I encourage that because that will then start to bring out emotions and joy. And you will start to really use this process of success journals as something that is really therapeutic and something that you will see will help you down the road in your career. I know it sounds like a large correlation between writing and colors and what that will do for you when you're in an interview. But some people who are visual learners and who have visual memories will actually, in an interview, refer back, their brain will actually refer back to color. And then they will remember that, oh yeah, you know what? I highlighted that particular page of my journal in yellow, and that is what this question is about. So I'm going to refer to that situation. So I recommend it. You know, you can definitely take it or leave it, but it's just something to consider and try. Another thing that I really recommend is to sleep on it. A fresh mind, fresh perspective. If you've come out of having a bad day or a bad week and you want to put this down in your journal, your success journal, because it was a problem, it was an issue, and what you ended up doing is working through the process and finding the resolution and really problem solving. What you want to do and what I recommend is to sleep. Get a good night's rest, sleep, you know, then put it in your journal so that it is fact-based and not emotions-based. This success journal, not only will it or can it help you with an interview process, it can also help you improve grammar and vocabulary. If you speak out loud and practice over, excuse that spelling mistake there, I just saw that. What that will do is bring you more confidence to explain a situation from beginning to end and really be articulate with that answer when you're in an interview. And so you become more confident the more that you repeat the process and the more you become comfortable. And then you'll start to incorporate words, vocabulary, your grammar to make it more correct, to make it more professional sounding, and to make it really specific, specifically targeted for the job that you're applying. One of the main parts of keeping a success journal is removing the emotion and the drama. So it is really important to know that this is about self-reflection, self-improvement, and taking yourself to the next level. And with that comes removing emotion and drama. Now, our life will be spent, a major part of it, working. And there will be conflict. And there will be, quote unquote, drama. And there will be emotion. So I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. But what I'm going to say is when it does happen, you want to start building the tolerance and the resilience to start removing yourself from the drama and really focusing on the issue at hand and then solving that issue. So once you start to remove the emotion and the drama once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, you're going to start getting better at it. Now, that doesn't mean to say you don't have feelings, that you don't receive information and, you know, that you're not offended by things. That I'm not saying at all. But what I'm saying is how to contain it and also how to build composure. So once you remove the emotion and the drama, you then start to remove names and identities. And you start neutralizing the situation and the story and the problem, and you avoid pointing fingers. If someone was responsible for a certain task, but they, for some reason, didn't deliver on that task, as you start to go through this process more and more, you will then start to realize that it's about the problem and not about the person. So we don't want to be judgmental. We don't want to include names. We don't want to include identities. We want to start focusing on how we, as a person, as an employee, as a team member, can take problems and make them better. So we want to remove all this sort of he said, she says, they were supposed to do it, they didn't do it, all of that kind of stuff, and really neutralizing. Now, I must say that when you start to neutralize your speech and your delivery, whether it's in an interview or whether it's in a one-on-one or with any conversation with a team member, or even your boss, neutralizing takes time and practice. So the more you start shifting the mindset and getting rid of people and names and identities and he said, she said, and pointing fingers, the more you'll start to neutralize, and it takes practice. This has taken me a very long time. It always is a work in progress. But what you do is you start to catch yourself before you say something. And those are really important tools to build over time in your career. Start switching the focus and the mindset to the lesson learned and becoming a better you. So once you start to remove the emotion, remove the drama, focus on you and what you can do to make the situation better, how you can build skill, then you will start to really build a good success journal that's going to help you with your career. Focusing on what's in your control and your own self-awareness and your own self-improvement, and minimizing the focus on the other person or labeling the other person. So really, if anything out of this, taking away the drama and the emotion. So that's the end of the official webinar in terms of what I wanted to share with you. Again, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Even 5 years from now, if you contact me on LinkedIn and say, hey, Bhavani, I use the Success Journal. I'm 5 years down the road in my career, and I found this has really helped me, or I can't seem to master this particular part of the process, or I need some help and guidance, reach out to me. I would be really happy to hear from you that everything that I have learned and shared is going into good use and is helping you as newcomers to Canada, really helping you excel in your journey and in your career. I myself was a newcomer to Canada. I was obviously a little girl when I came, but my parents were job hunters, newcomers to Canada as well. They are two-time immigrants. They've been through the job process. And my father was, educated, worked and had some experience in England, a Western country, moving into Canada. And he had his own type of success journal, luckily. And taking that and expanding on it is what I also learned being in this environment in Canada as well. And so I am grateful for this opportunity, Keisha and ACCES, to be able to pass this on to all of you and to help you with that. And so, like I said, 5 years from now, if you're using the Success Journal, or maybe you forgot about it and maybe you're using it 2-3 years and then you put it away and you bring it back, that's okay too. but take note of some systems and processes that might be able to help you out as newcomers. And I'd be really honored if you shared your feedback with me as well. So I'm just going to keep this up here again as well. And just going to turn my mouse on here. Just give you a moment to put any questions you have in the, either in Q&A or in the chat, either one. And we'll open it up to questions now. I don't see on my end any questions. This is a first if there aren't any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Bhavini? Okay, we got one. So Harish would like to know if you are able to give some further tips on neutralizing the story, rephrasing the he said, she said.
Yes. So without knowing your specific scenario, or perhaps if you have one, I'll give you an example of one that was brought to me last month or so, where someone had left their job. They were hired for a job. The job didn't go as planned. So within a couple of months, they left the job, and then they were applying for new jobs. So their question to me was, how do I, in an interview, answer a question about the previous company I worked for, where I didn't like the person I worked with, and I didn't like the job, and I didn't like, so it was a lot of that job obviously was not a right fit. So in an interview, and again, without knowing your specific scenario about how you would neutralize a specific situation, in this specific scenario, my recommendation was the job description that this person applied for was X, Y, and Z. When they were onboarded and were doing the job, the tasks that they were given did not match the tasks that they were hired for. And upon conversation with the boss and the one-on-ones, the subject was discussed. The boss then brought forward that the job description had changed without any communication to this new employee. And so the new employee was not happy about the job change, excuse me here, was not happy about the job change. And so this is hard to describe, actually, being a neutral person, but the way that they needed to answer that question in an interview was not to say that the company was bad, or not to say that the boss was bad, or the boss was incompetent, or that there was drama in the job. They really had to take away all of the drama and the people side of it and talk about job matching. The job that they applied for did not match the job that they got hired for. And therefore, this was not a right fit. Therefore, they decided not to continue with that job anymore. So they were taking away all of the people side of it, all of the drama side of it, and just focusing on the job description not matching the job tasks. So I hope that helps a little bit. Without your specific scenario, hard to give exact feedback, but you definitely can reach out to me on LinkedIn. There is a voice note option on LinkedIn. You can send me a voice note with a specific scenario, and then I can send that back to you with a suggestion.
Perfect, thank you. So we have another question from Promi. So they would like to know, how often would you recommend a person write in a log while they are working? Do you think maybe weekly or every day?
Good question. So I think sometimes to get into a new habit, if this is a new habit or this is a new task for you, then I would recommend every other day. I would say every day, you know, if that is something that you have time for, then go for it. It's like keeping a personal journal, but this is more of a professional journal. And obviously you want to do this after hours. You want to do this at home if you're working outside of your home. You want to do this in a private environment, in a quiet environment where you can really think. So if you're starting a new habit and a new process, I'd say a couple of times a week would help. Then you can start doing it situationally. So if there is a specific scenario that you wanted to really identify, and you know that you helped to solve a problem or to improve a situation, then you really want to make sure that it's situational. So you will start to see and identify as you do this over time, which situations are way heavier and can help you better in the future. So at the beginning, I would say a couple of times a week. Weekly is definitely great. You could do an end of week summary as well, and that might start to trigger and really get you into the habit of things.
Great, thank you. And then we have a question from Diane. She wants to know, is the success journal similar to the STAR method?
Yes, absolutely. So it is very similar to the STAR method. This particular method that I've shared with you today is something that I've used over time. I think before the STAR method was sort of incorporated into, you know, trainings and so forth. But for me, because in the environment that I worked in, it was very goals, target, budget, incentive heavy. So I needed to focus on the last part of it a lot, which was the impact and the benefit to the company, and making sure that there were really specific measurements around that. So if there's a component in your particular industry or a particular line of work, or where you may want to take your career, that is that's a standout from the STAR model or from this model, then you can definitely, you know, take from both and incorporate those together. This just kind of gives you a little bit more of a background. And then the emotional drama side of it, again, is something that over time, as we mature, as we grow, as we have experience, as we fail, and as we do things wrong, that is something that I have learned over time, and I think is really important as well to incorporate, which I think people don't talk about enough, is the drama, the finger pointing, the emotional side of it, to really take that out of the equation and incorporate some of these tools before you start logging everything down. So in short, yes, it's similar, very similar to the STAR method.
Perfect, thank you. And then we just had one question come in from Diane. They want to know, is this journal recommended to do on the job for customer service personnel and not just for job searching?
So just to clarify, when you mean on the job, do you mean writing this while you're physically on the job? If so, I recommend to do it in a private, quiet space, not in front of colleagues or in front of other team members. And yes, this is definitely for someone who's in a stable job, who is, you know, whether you're looking to get promoted or not, that doesn't matter. This is just for everyday situations, if you, regardless of your line of work, if it's customer service or if it's looking to elevate yourself and get promoted. So it's not just for people job searching, it's for people who are in a stable job, who want to stay in that job. And then also, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for a bonus, maybe there's an opportunity for incentives. You just never know when a company also changes bosses, CEOs. They start implementing a new employment benefits package. When somebody in your team even quits and maybe you're next in line for something else. So yeah, it is for anybody at any stage.
Perfect, thank you. And then we just had another question come in. How should we stand out when talking about our achievements in an interview without showing off?
Yeah, good question. That's where I would focus on the impact and the benefit that particular situations may have had or how you resolve the situation. So achievements and awards are really important to talk about, but it is incorporating that into how did you get that award, or why did you get that award or achievement? And then what you did along the way, how did that impact and benefit the team or the company or the client or the process? So that's how you want to incorporate it. It's not just about you winning or achieving that award or accolade but it's what you did to get there, if that makes sense.
Perfect. And then we had one question come through the chat. So Harish would like to know, he said, I know you said to remove the emotion and drama, but I was wondering, would you be able to use the emotion and drama to explain to the individuals and relations in a situation? Could you use it to show that you can remain calm and level-headed despite the chaos around you?
Yeah, good question. And that is a good perspective. Yes, you can definitely use and incorporate or describe the situation. So, you know, whatever that situation was, if there are 5 people in your team and 3 of them are, you know, are panicky, or 3 of them have low resilience or low stress management habits, you can phrase it in that way for sure, to say, you know, we're a team of 5. We came up with this, we were faced with this issue and this problem. It was a matter of looking at people's strengths and people's skills. And because myself and my colleague were the ones to look at this problem rationally, we were able to solve it by doing A, B, and C. So you're not putting down the other people in the team, saying that they are emotional and that they have low resilience skills, but you're highlighting the fact that yes, there was a situation, it was intense, and everyone did get emotional, but myself and my colleague were able to draw upon the training that we had for this particular situation, and we used this resource in order to draw information and apply that information. I hope that helps a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then we have one more question. What is the best approach when asked a question about our most negative experiences?
Well, I would probably, if this is an interview question, I would ask them to rephrase the question. And if they're talking about a negative experience within that organization or a previous job, I would definitely get them to expand. And what does that mean, the negative experience? If they're talking about, again, a problem or a situation where you might have been stuck, or maybe, as I just mentioned before, maybe you're in a team environment and other people in the team aren't focused or aren't solution driven, you can then switch that focus to your resilience, to your knowledge base, and what you did to apply your training and knowledge. Maybe you were in a training program with this company and you have knowledge and skill. So maybe you took all of that and you applied it to this negative situation. So again, bringing the focus back to being proactive, to solving a problem, and to really focusing on what you can control, what you were able to control in order to make improvements to that situation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So it looks like that is the end of the questions. Great questions, everybody. All right. Bhavini, is there anything that you would like to say now that we are at the end?
No, not at all. And I just want to just let everyone know that they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll just go back here and put my LinkedIn information. You can contact me there for anything that you've seen or heard here today. I'm open to your feedback. If there's something that you use that maybe didn't even work for you, or you found counteracted what I've even said, I'm really open to your feedback. That helps me to make improvements and amendments to my webinars as well in the future.